That's my pleasure, Doug. Do anything for you.
Thank you. All right, my first question is, what was the background prior to the war?
Prior to the Vietnam War, I was in high school for most of the beginning of the war. I graduated high school in '57. I had some friends that I guess in 1965 went over and did a couple tours of duty in Vietnam. I tried to enlist into the Marine Corps, which we'll probably end up talking about, to get into Vietnam through what's my best friend, and it was an unsuccessful attempt that I had, and we'll talk about that.
Okay. Do you want to just go through and story?
Sure. When we graduated high school, at that point there was actually a lottery, and if your number was drawn for your birthday, and if it was less than, I think it was 250, you were going to be drafted and go into probably the Army, and you didn't have many choices of what you could do. So both my best friend and I, our numbers were really low, so I decided to ask him to go down and join the Marine Corps with me and enlist into the Marine Corps, and at least we got to spend time in Parris Island together. So I went down, drug him out of bed, and we went down to the Marine Corps place in Philly. And when we got there, we were going to leave in 2 weeks. We both were working at the time. We both quit our jobs. We had to take our physicals in 2 weeks. And when we got down to take our physical, I had to go wake my best friend up again. I drug him down there, and we got to one part of the test where it was taking me a little longer, and he went through, and I said, "Oh, I'll just meet you out front, and right in front of the the front door, and we'll come home together." And when I went through, they found that I had a heart murmur when I was younger, and they did not pass me for my physical. And when I went downstairs and I met my friend outside, he was like, "Oh, we're leaving in 2 weeks, this is really exciting." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know how to tell you this. I didn't pass the physical." And he did not think that was funny at all. And he left in 2 weeks, and I actually quit my job, so I had to go back and try to get my job back, which I was able to do. He lucked out. He ended up fixing helicopters, so it wasn't that he was actually in any combat at all. So thank God we got him back.
All right, thank you. How did your parents feel about the war?
Well, my dad was in World War II, and he was there for a while. I had two older brothers that had already served. One was in the Air Force and one was in the Navy. Mother, obviously, she knew that once I was enlisted into the Marines, which I thought I was going to go, that I'd probably gone to Vietnam. But she knew that's what my dad and my older two brothers, went through service, so it was the right thing to do as far as our family was concerned. But she was happy after I did not, make it through, but happy but not happy. Dad was like, "Oh man, I can't believe you quit your job, you got to get your job back."
Okay, did you happen to lose any close friends or
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I went to a playground every day of my life, and there was one fellow that I grew up with and knew his mom really well, and he was scheduled to come home. I guess he had 3 more weeks left in his tour duty, and he was killed in Vietnam by friendly fire. He actually had his legs severed completely off, and that was one of the hardest viewings that I had to go to because he was a good friend, and when I saw his mom, I really lost control over myself, and we just stood there and cried for a while. He was my only really close friend that I lost in the war.
How did your opinion of the war change over time, if it did change?
Well, I guess, our country definitely back then was one of the leading countries, and we had to really support the South Vietnamese people because the North Vietnamese people were just trying to overrun them. My opinion of the war, because of how strong we were as a nation, we had to help them and protect their land and their people. Did it change after that? After you found out how many people were killed in the war, and so many people saying it was a useless thing, there was mixed emotions. There were so many people and songs that came out that were against the war that just used to tick so many people off, and sometimes they ticked me off, but it was the right thing to do. I feel.
What do you think was the best thing that the United States government did?
Well, I think the best thing was to protect the South Vietnamese people. You know, we had a strong army. Maybe in the very beginning we didn't send enough of our troops over there, but you know, finally we did. There was a lot of people that lost their lives, but by the end I think it was the best thing, you know, for U.S. to get in, send a lot of people over there, and then pull out.
Do you think that them not sending troops early, as many troops early in the war, was the worst thing that they did during
Yes.
the time?
Yeah, I really do. I think we probably could have gotten in there. I think we underestimated the North Vietnamese because I didn't think we felt they had such a strong army that they could, you know, beat us. And we were in their land, so there was a lot of things they were used to that our American people weren't used to, you know, the rice paddies and different things like that. We were fighting in their land. And so many stories that came back from my friends, it was tough to tell the difference between the South Vietnamese and the North Vietnamese people. They all looked the same, so.
Yeah.
And their uniforms really didn't, a lot of them didn't have uniforms at all, and there was just people with, you know, rifles in their hands.
Do you think, can you remember any more stories you'd like to tell?
Yeah, I had a friend that had one of a horrifying story for me. George was 6'4". He still is 6'4". He was in a troop that was sent into some of the smaller towns where there was a sniper in the towns, and their job was to go in, find a sniper, and do away with the sniper. George and, you know, like 15 people went in, and they couldn't flush out the sniper, and as they were walking out and leaving the town, all of a sudden one of his buddies was killed. And so they went back through the town, and unfortunately George came upon a kid that was about 13 years old that had a rifle in his hand, and George just couldn't shoot the kid. You know, he's a kid, and that didn't matter. You know, they had some of his friends in the troop came in and they shot this kid, and he was only a kid, you know, but he was the guy that was picking everybody off, so they had to do that. That left him with nightmares. You know, he just could not believe that they just shot a 13-year-old kid. That's a tough story.
All right, thank you for answering all my questions. It means a lot.
Okay, thank you. That's it, bud.